dog, it's obvious. Cause I must win. You can't stop it, do the math, it's not happening. For all I'm about to spit, and already did. It seems these people making plans to try to stop the kid. But dog, it's obvious. Cause I must win. You can't stop it, do the math, it's not happening.
Welcome back to the Doug Stewart Show.
Make you dance and prance till you huff and puff. There's just no way you can get enough of me. Yo, Mr. Big Star, I'm the overweight, Prince, Dominator, MC, Heavy D, constant,
welcome back to the show. R.I.P. Heavy D. 404-382-0338. You can also email me at doug@thedugstewartshow.com. Sandaris Thornwell. That's right. Sandaris Thornwell. That's a cool last name. Yeah. That's a cool last name, man. Him and Frank Martin, man, they get it done this weekend. Thornwell's 26 points in the Gamecocks' swarming zone defense meant a 77-70 victory over Florida on Sunday in a berth in the Final Four, man. The first time ever in team history. They're going to face the number one seeded Gonzaga from the West region in the Final Four on Saturday in Glendale, Arizona. P.J. Dozier added 17 points for the Gamecocks. Chris Silva had 13, and Kotsar, the big man in the middle, had 12 points. Florida was 0 for 14 from beyond the arc. Listen to this one more time. I'm going to repeat that. That bears repeating. The Florida Gators were 0 for 14 from behind the arc in the second half of the game. Yes. Yeah, it was pretty reminiscent of the 0 for 17 effort the Gators had in their first meeting with South Carolina this season. South Carolina, which forced Florida into 16 turnovers, finished 23 for 31 from the free throw line, including a 9 for 10 effort from Thornwell. It was the third straight game the Gamecocks were trailing at the half and went on to win. All right, so that's a big indicator right there. The Gamecocks beat number 2 seeded Duke, number 3 Baylor, and on the way to the Elite Eight. Until the tournament, the Gamecocks hadn't won an NCAA tournament game since 1973. And once again, they have never made it to a Final Four. Big ball award to the Carolina Gamecocks. Go Cocks! Yeah, hadn't won a tournament since 1973. Get it done. I see a lot of people in this chat room, man, commenting with the whole South Carolina theme. My man Chucktown Frank, who's a contrarian. Chucktown Frank is a Duke fan, I think, and he's a Georgia Tech fan. The Georgia Tech thing is understandable because he went to Georgia Tech for a minute or two. But the Duke thing, I just don't get. Chucktown Frank says in the chat room on Spreaker.com, he says, BS, Dougie, if Tech makes it to the Citadel or USC, death to the hometown for that game and only that game. And listen, you are in a very precarious situation if your entire life, and this may not even happen. Once again, this is just barbershop sports talk for the most part. North Carolina may lose, to Oregon, and, South Carolina may lose to Gonzaga. Truth be told, though, to be honest, if I had to put money on it, if I were wagering on it, I would pick North Carolina to make it. Obviously, I think North Carolina is the better team. Obviously, I had them winning the whole thing. And I'm not just saying this because I want South Carolina to win. I think the game between them and Gonzaga is like a coin toss. And, I might even because of, the way that sports works and some of those old axioms, like I mentioned earlier, defense wins championships. If you watch South Carolina win, there's no reason to not think that they can't beat the Gonzaga Bulldogs. There's none. Because it's almost like, yeah, you may do one thing offensively, man, all year long that's been successful if you're Gonzaga. But it's a different story, man, when you got somebody once again, up in your shorts the entire game long. If you're not used to that defensive intensity, then that changes everything. That changes everything. So what you were accustomed to doing, that's probably not going to work the same way that it had all year long. I think it's a coin toss, man. But if you are a fan of North Carolina, and this thing does happen, North Carolina, South Carolina in the championship game, at the least, and you're from South Carolina, at the least, maybe you could just stay neutral. Maybe you could just stay neutral, because it's almost like, and I said this earlier, and you're listening to the Doug Stewart Show, it's like North Carolina, they have so much as far as the basketball history. Carolina, the Tar Heels, Michael Jordan, so many great players, Phil Ford and Vince Carter and Kenny Smith and Sam Perkins and Jimmy Black and all of these cats. They have so much. In South Carolina, not just basketball, but South Carolina sports, we have so little. We just have so little, man. Now, this year, man, is an aberration. This year is different than past years. Once again, Coastal Carolina winning the national championship in baseball. The Clemson Tigers, for the first time since 1981, bring a state national championship to South Carolina with football. And this opportunity here. So, Carolina, man, basketball-wise, y'all got so much. And we just don't. We have so little. So I don't think anybody would be mad. All right, maybe you don't cheer for the Gamecocks if you're from South Carolina. Maybe you don't cheer for them, but maybe you just stay neutral. Maybe you just don't say nothing at all. Maybe if you can't say nothing nice, you just don't say nothing at all. Great win for the Gamecocks. Corporate brother in the chat room on Spreaker.com. My family is from South Carolina, Manning. Oh, Manning is right up the street from Moncks Corner. You probably know that. And every last one of my cousins cheered for North Carolina because South Carolina, was always garbage in basketball. But now, them ninjas are going all in for the Gamecocks. Right. I think your family got the right idea, man. It's as simple as that. They got the right idea, period. Why not, man? Why not? Shock the world. From, who do we got here? From B. Jones. Oregon might be the best team left in the tournament. Them damn Ducks balling. Everybody's balling. When you make it to this point in the season, when you make it to a Final Four, and it's crazy in college basketball, y'all tell me if I'm wrong on this. In college basketball, it almost seems like that you win a championship if you make it to the Final Four. Like winning the national championship is almost kind of like icing on the cake. It's always a talk about the Final Four and making it to the Final Four. And if you watch this tournament and any tournament in the past, you know how many good basketball teams are out there. It's not hard to put 5 dudes together that can play basketball. Think about it. It's not hard to put 5 dudes together, nationally, to recruit 5 guys out of high school and get 5 more to get your bench together or whatever. It's not hard to put together a good basketball team. It's not hard at all. And so we've seen a ton of teams. Man, that Kansas Who was it? The Kansas no, I'm not thinking of Kansas. The North Carolina Kentucky game. The North Carolina-Kentucky game, Kentucky got nothing to hold their head down about. And we're going to talk about that game here in a second. But Kentucky got nothing to hold their head down about, man. Basically, what happened in that game is Kentucky ran out of time. Like, I don't even know if it's proper to say Kentucky lost. You know, they didn't lose. I mean, they went back and forth with North Carolina that entire game. They just ran out of time. Speaking of which, University of Kentucky and North Carolina, man, Luke May hit a jumper with 0.3 seconds left, and top-seeded North Carolina held off Kentucky 75-73 to earn the Tar Heels' second straight trip to the Final Four. Ball award to the Tar Heels. Yeah. Yeah. So the Tar Heels, man, make their second straight trip to the Final Four, winning a showdown of college basketball's elite in the South Regional. And I just talked about that, man. You're talking about the top 2 or 3 programs in college basketball history, probably. Maybe UCLA is in there. Kansas is probably in the conversation. If I were to give, and we always do top 5s around here, off the top of your head, you know, as far as brand, you know, I'm not even looking at the records. But as far as brand, the top 5 college basketball programs of all time, so people had to vote. Number 1 would obviously be UCLA with all the championships back in the 60s and, 10 championships in 11 years or something like that. So then you got UCLA, then you have Kentucky, then you have probably Duke, probably North Carolina, and I'm trying to think of one more. Would you put Kansas in that 5th spot? I think most of us would agree. Those 4 are definitely the top 4 in college basketball. Maybe Indiana. And so UCLA, Kentucky, Duke, North Carolina, Indiana, and there was one other team that I just mentioned, but I'm drawing a blank right now as far as history. I don't know. So maybe that's my top 5 right there. And we do top 5s around here all the time. And off the top of my head, I came up with my list. So I think most of you will agree. UCLA, Kentucky, Duke, North Carolina. And Duke just has had so much success under Coach K over the last 30 years. I think you have to put them in it. Championships included and everything. Indiana, I'd have to go back and look at Indiana's record, but it seems like whenever you talk about Indiana and legendary basketball and Isaiah Thomas and Bobby Knight and all of the great players that they've had come through there, maybe Indiana makes the top 5 as well. I know the other team I was thinking about, Kansas. So I think that's probably that 5th spot, and it depends on who you ask. Indiana or Kansas may get that last spot. Some of you may say to take out Duke and put in Indiana or Kansas because I don't know Duke's history before Coach K got there. But once again, Coach K's been around for 40 years, so it's damn near that is the history of Duke basketball. I don't know. What are your thoughts on that? A little side topic. Top five most prestigious, the biggest brands of college basketball teams ever. What would your list be? Would your list be any different than the list that I threw out there just now? And once again, mine is UCLA, Kentucky, Duke, North Carolina, then the last spot, Indiana or Kansas. But once again, back to this game, man. The national semifinal will be the 20th for North Carolina. Did you hear that? The 20th for North Carolina, where the Tar Heels 31-7 will play Midwest champ Oregon on Saturday in Glendale, Arizona. North Carolina took control with 12 straight points over the final 5 minutes, a run similar to what it used to beat Arkansas. The Tar Heels finished the game with a 16-9 run. Kentucky's freshman De'Aaron Fox hit a 3, and Malik Monk, who balled out of control. That Malik Monk, man, who does he remind me of? Malik Monk kind of reminds me of Rip Hamilton. But De'Aaron Fox hit 3, and Malik Monk quickly added 2 more, one with 7.2 seconds left, and defenders in his face to tie the game at 73. those kids, man, once again, they didn't lose. They just ran out of time. Baller award in a losing effort to De'Aaron Fox, man, and